Hello everybody, I'm Ajit K. Mishra. I'm here again with another session on self-awareness. This time I'm going to talk about self-awareness at the workplace. Why is it so very important and what it can do for us at the workplace. If you all remember, in my last session I talked about self-awareness and the most important components of self-awareness. So this time I'll be talking about the other aspects of self-awareness. So this is very, very important because self-awareness plays such an important role in the workplace that even the greatest leaders understand and know themselves very, very well. There is no doubt about themselves. So they speak with candor, they readily admit their mistakes. This is the power of self-awareness, because once we know our strengths, our weaknesses, and once we accept our strengths and weaknesses, we'll always be in a position when we can speak with candor and we can admit. So admitting is such a wonderful, such a powerful skill that the moment somebody does that, it will ensure the growth and the overcoming of that particular problem. So it's very important that we learn how to admit our mistakes, and then self-awareness is important in every aspect of life, because it means that we have a sound understanding of who we are as a person and how we relate to the world in which we live. So without a proper understanding of these two things, it will be very difficult for us to move out and work along with people. It will be very difficult for us to form bondings or relationships. So when we are self-aware, we know our strengths and weaknesses and how we manage them in the workplace, which is critical to self-leadership, because self-leadership is heavily dependent on emotional regulation at the workplace. So we cannot allow our emotions to come out many often. So we need to learn how to regulate our emotions in the right manner so that we can channelize them in a much desired and acceptable way. So before we can actually begin to lead others, it's very important that we begin to lead ourselves. So self-leadership is something that is very, very important when it comes to self-awareness at the workplace. Just take a look at this wheel. It has the most important aspects of self-awareness at the workplace. So in order to understand how self-awareness is so very important at the workplace, we need to take care of each of these components. So let's start with personal growth, which is very, very important. Once I know a lot of things about myself, I can prepare a list of the things that I would like to do with myself, with the various things about me. It can be my motivation, can be my attitudes, can be my likes, dislikes, can be my values, can be my strengths and my weaknesses. When I know myself extremely well, I can think of my personal growth. I can prepare a plan for my personal growth, especially because personal growth is a process by which we recognize ourselves continually, and then we think of developing ourselves to reach our full potential. So for personal growth to happen, it's very important that we are aware of a lot of things about ourselves. The second important component is emotional intelligence, which is otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ. It's in fact the ability to understand, use and manage our own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress and communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. It's very important that we develop emotional intelligence, because it will ensure that we develop the right kind of relationships at the workplace. It will also ensure that we manage our emotions well, because unmanaged emotions can lead to workplace disasters. It may happen that sometimes I may be feeling an emotion of anger for one of my colleagues, but if I show that emotion, then that might lead to problems with the colleagues. So I must learn how to control my anger for my colleague, and then gradually diffuse that particular emotion. If I do not diffuse that particular emotion, it will lead to some kind of conflict. So it's very, very important that we develop emotional intelligence, so that we learn how we can relieve our stress in a positive manner, how we can communicate effectively with our colleagues or co-workers in the workplace, and how we can empathize with our co-workers. We understand them, their perspectives, their feelings, their emotions, so that we minimize the chances of entering into any conflict at the workplace. So it's very important. The third most important component is a relationship management. I've been talking about a relationship, therefore it becomes extremely important here, because as the name suggests, managing relationships in our life is very, very important. It's easier to start relationships, but it's very difficult to continue with those relationships. It's very difficult to sustain those relationships, because we need some wonderful relationship management skills if we want to sustain our relationships. That means, managing and maintaining positive relationships with everyone in our life. So it may be our spouse, our family members, our siblings, our work colleagues, or our employees as well. So it's very important that we learn how to manage our relationships. Next important component is self-regulation. It is in fact an ability to understand and manage our behavior and our reactions to feelings and things happening around us. So if I cannot regulate myself, there may be something happening that's very, very unsavory, distasteful around me. So if I allow myself to be moved by that particular unsavory happening around me, so that will cause me problems. So I must learn how to keep my cool, even in the face of challenges, crises, and difficult situations. So it's very important that we learn how to regulate ourselves. So self-regulation includes being able to regulate reactions to strong emotions like frustration, excitement, anger, and embarrassment. These are some of the strongest emotions that we generally come across at the workplace. So if we are aware of regulating these emotions, if we know how to check these emotions, how to control these emotions at the workplace, we can actually do well in the workplace. We can minimize the chances of conflict. We can ensure good relationships at the workplace. So, if we practice the art of calming down after something exciting or upsetting, it can help us a lot, especially when we know how to focus on a task, how to switch to a task and focus on it. When that is done, that will help us calm down after something exciting or upsetting has happened. So self-regulation is very, very important. And then adaptive behavior is absolutely important, because when we go to a workplace, we'll have to adapt to its working conditions. We'll have to adapt the kind of people we work with, their interests, their likes, their dislikes, their choices, their preferences. There are various other things that we need to adapt. So adaptive will mean that we are very, very flexible, we are open-minded, and we are going to our workplace with a very flexible mindset. So adaptive behavior is a very different concept than intelligence. Adaptive behaviors are in fact learned behaviors that reflect an individual's social and practical competence to meet the demands of everyday living. And to meet these demands of our environments, we must learn a set of adaptive behavior skills. It's very, very important for all of us to develop adaptive behavior skills, because we cannot always expect a situation to be according to what we desire or what we wish. So another important component is decision making, which is the process of making choices by identifying a decision, gathering information, and assessing alternative resolutions. So decision making and problem solving are very important skills which require us to adopt a step-by-step process which can help us make more deliberate, thoughtful decisions by organizing relevant information and defining the alternatives. So if we develop good decision making and problem solving skills, it will mean that we are going to succeed in the workplace, because when we are in the workplace, we can expect a lot of problems to come our way. So when we know how to solve those problems, when we know how we can depend on our relationships to solve those problems and arrive at some solutions, that will help us overcome these challenges. So that's all for this session. I'm sure you have taken note of the things that I talked about, and you're certainly going to explore these things yet further and strengthen your self-awareness and your understanding of the connection between the self-aware person and the workplace success. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll meet you again in the next session. Bye-bye.